Hey there, Rock Talks. My name is Stephen Robertson, co-founder of TogTools.com, home of business training and tips for newer photographers.
And I'm Jess Robertson, and today we are here with Nate Grahek, and Nate is the founder of StickyAlbums, which I'm sure most of you guys, if you've been in the industry for a little while, have heard of. It's an amazing tool. Nate is a photographer, educator, tech maven, and entrepreneur. He's passionate about helping others do more of what they love. After seeing his own portrait clients' reaction to the custom mobile apps that he was building for them, he founded StickyAlbums.com in 2012 to let all photographers easily create custom branded mobile apps for each of their clients. So this is such an amazing tool to grow your word of mouth referrals and business, and we're so excited to have you here with us today, Nate. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here.
Yay.
Absolutely. Hey, dude, take us back to like the beginning of Sticky. Like, where did the idea come from? What was the genesis? Talk to us about the story.
Yeah, totally. It's fun to look back. It's amazing how fast time can fly. We were just about to have our second kid, so it wasn't like the best time to start a business. But I was doing portrait photography on the side, and I was handing out custom business cards I would make to all of my high school senior reps. And that would work sometimes, but it wasn't consistently working. Like finally, my cousin, who I did her senior photos and for free, and I was like, well, maybe I'll get some work out of it. And so I told her, can I make these cards for you? And she's like, well, I don't really like carrying stuff in my pockets. I don't think my friends will either. I was like, okay. That makes all of a sudden like started making sense to me why this wasn't working so well.
Yeah.
I remember that with the Moo cards.
Yeah,
the Moo
right.
mini cards.
Yeah, and I'd make them all over. I tried all different versions and stickers, and it took so much time to set up and to order them, and like it would just work once in a while. It just wasn't consistent enough. And in my day job, I had figured out how to put training onto mobile devices. So how can I combine my two passions of technology and photography? And it's like, oh, I can make these cool galleries they could save offline to their phones and share with their friends. And my cousin was like, that'd be awesome. Sure enough, it worked really well in my own business. She shared it with everybody she knew, and her mom got a hold of it, and her mom showed it with everybody. And it was this referral machine. And I even like slowed down. Like I was like, I don't want to give this to anybody else, because I'm on to something bigger. I want to bring this to other photographers. And that's when I started testing it with other photographers. They right away were like, dude, this is something big. So luckily, I had an awesome developer neighbor that helped me kind of flush everything out. And since then, I've brought on some amazing experts to help grow the team. Fast forward 2 years, and we've got a team of 5, almost 6 now. And we're releasing our brand new version. We've taken all of the feedback that like it's just grown so organically from what's working for photographers that I would never have imagined working or not working. And we just make it easier and faster. We've released a new version that looks cool, like the Pinterest style flow. And it's just been a super ride. More than anything, what keeps me going is the emails we get weekly of people saying, Nate, this is changing my business. Yeah. I didn't get to go on vacation last year, but now I am, because we're making $200 to $300 to $400 more per session using StickyAlbums as a pull-through product. And we'll get to what I mean by that later. Yeah. But I started StickyAlbums as a marketing tool, and it just makes it really easy for your customers to brag about your work.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a long version. I could go on and on in 1,000 directions.
No, that's so cool.
I get excited when you have me to look back. I'm like, the whole story.
That's so cool. Yeah, to think that it's only been 2 years. That's just unreal.
It definitely feels unreal sometimes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this year we went to all of the big shows, and it was really fun to meet our customers face to face and see the difference this is making. We get all these great testimonials, but to have people come up and give us a hug and say thank you, it makes all of the hard work, all the late nights with my little guy zipped up in my hoodie when we first started, like nobody's sleeping, and like may as well do some work, like,
remember those.
growing the business, and that's where it started. And it's been really fun seeing Jack is now 2 years old, and as every milestone for him now, like, oh, he's walking and talking and he knows his alphabet now. Like, it's just cool to see Sticky Albums mature and become like a real company right alongside of it.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you had us talking on your show a little bit about our tool for photographers, our photographer's business model canvas. So for those of you guys who are listening who aren't familiar with that tool, it is something that we've made available for you to download for free, and you can follow along and use it for your own business. And we're going to be doing a series here soon that's going to walk you through each and every section of it. But we thought, since Nate talked to us about the PBMC and what it is and what each of those sections kind of are, we thought we might talk to him about how some of these apply to Sticky Albums and using that in your business.
Well, what I'd like to do is kind of take a couple of these sections of the photographer's business model canvas, and Nate, if you could like reach into your memory banks of some use cases or some anecdotes of real life use that photographers are getting out of Sticky Albums, that is, and and let's just really dive into the value that Sticky Albums presents to a photographer. So right away, like, you know, in the photographer's business model canvas, and we're going to make a link available like right below this this video, so you can download it. I want to talk first and foremost about like why the clients book you. So why do the clients book me? That part of the PBMC. What is it about Sticky Albums that helps kind of filter out your clients and that kind of thing?
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So first, before I dive in, I want to give one more like kudos to like, this is how I found you guys. I think this is such an awesome tool for photographers, for any business. To see you guys applying it to photography it just blew me away. On our blog, I focus on business advice, just like you guys do. And I've talked to hundreds of photographers about what's working and what isn't in their business. And I just wish I would have had this tool with them from the beginning, because it's such a good foundation to structure any conversation you're having, and it's less intimidating. It's like a simple way in like a few minutes, you can get this really simple framework to start thinking about your business as a business. So absolutely. Thank you guys for bringing this to everybody. I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Awesome. So part of, let me combine things. So let's start with what problem I'm solving for photographers.
Yes.
And part of that problem, the biggest problem, is getting booked. Photo Shelter released a blog, they did really good surveys every year, and things that people are most concerned about and want to invest the most in this year. And it's finding ways to book more customers. Like, it doesn't matter if you shot 100 customers last year or 10. Your number one priority for almost every customer, any photographer, is to grow your business by booking more customers. And for me, even before I started this, I always, in my photography business, in any other company I've worked in, I knew through and through that word of mouth referrals were vital. That any for paid advertising is just like icing. Like, nobody buys stuff anymore just because they saw an ad or a print ad or something like that. All an ad does is remind people of a conversation I think they had with their friend. Like, oh yeah, that's right. So-and-so was telling me that movie was really good. Or so-and-so said that they did their deck and it was really good. Like, before we started recording, we built a new deck last fall. And since we found out, I went through Angie's List and all these other places to find good people that could build a deck for us. I couldn't find anybody there that wasn't busy or that we didn't trust. And then I asked a friend, hey, you guys had some work done. Who do you recommend? And they're like, boom, they were good. They were really on time. They did nice work. Awesome. I called them up. They did our deck. And then now, a few months later, they've already built a deck for another friend, and they're ready to start building a second deck. And just in the last few months, that gets apart from all of the traditional like social media or tools out there. It's just bottom line, people buy from people they trust.
Yep.
And the best way to trust somebody is that like borrowed trust, is that referred trust.
Social trust, yeah.
There you go, exactly. And so the other part of it is what problem I solve is how do our clients share? Like we want them to go out and promote and refer our business, but how do they do it? What are they going to show off? Are they going to walk around with their big print album? They're not going to take their big canvas off the wall and go to school with it or go to wherever they're at. And putting images, like a lot of times, a lot of photographers were putting, they felt like our customers really want images for their phones. But that's kind of tricky too. Like you give them just the JPEGs and then it gets buried in their camera roll and then it doesn't work very well. And a lot of the current hosting solutions that make great gallery software and all that stuff is good for online sales if that's what you want to do.
The mobile version stinks.
What's tricky is they go to share those galleries, and we've all been in a situation with somebody who's like really excited to show off like their kid pictures.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wait, I got to show you this picture. Hang on. And it's like, dude, you've killed the conversation. Like either they got to find it in their camera roll or they've got to wait for the images to re-download.
Yep.
And so those are some of the big problems I went after solving. And I noticed that the potential mobile had, and especially tablets and smartphones, had to bring people together again. I like to talk about when I remember what it was like as a kid to look at family pictures and pictures of my friends. It happened in person. Like we took out the big photo albums. My grandpa would even put up a slideshow with the old like traditional slideshows. And it was a very social experience. Everybody laughed, cried together. Right. And now with Facebook, that's great. We can do those things, but we're by ourselves. It's so ironic that we call it a social network when everybody's sitting alone looking at pictures.
So true.
And you don't get that same level of like impact. It doesn't
like
bring
watching
that
a
emotional
comedy by yourself.
Bingo, exactly.
It's the worst thing ever, watching a funny movie by yourself and you like start laughing and you look around, you're like, no one else is here.
This is all me. Yep, totally. And so I started noticing right away when I would look around at dinner, anywhere you're going, people are handing each other their phones or they're looking shoulder to shoulder at their phones together. And it's finally, yes, mobile has its issues with texting and people right next to each other are ignoring each other because they're always on these. That's another issue altogether. I'm not going to try to solve that problem. Try to leverage what it's good at doing is connecting people in a positive way.
Absolutely.
Where they can share their pictures, they can share this story. And to give you a specific example that I heard when I was in Vegas this year, a high school senior photographer, he would deliver via text message the client sticky album to the high school seniors at lunchtime.
Nice.
So he sends this text, say, hey, here's your pictures. Thanks so much for placing your order. And what happens at the lunch table? The phone circles the table and he says within an hour, like he's getting individual views in the hundreds where this thing just goes viral across the lunchroom and everybody's looking at and now each of those people have the actual app on their devices. And it's what's great is it's as if that person went around and passed out the business card, because embedded in every sticky album is the client's logo and contact information. So all those people have the sticky album then saved off on their phones. And when it's time for them to book a session, they come in and say, hey, I want to book a session. How do I get an app like Julie? Because I want an app like Julie's got.
Yeah.
Anyway, it goes on and on like that. And so to come back to the beginning here is getting your customers is so vital to empower them to share about your work.
Yeah.
right? That all of our business, it doesn't matter if you're big or small, is going to come from word of mouth referrals. And so by giving your clients the right incentive and the right tools to promote you it's just imperative now. And that's every new feature we add, all the work we're doing is all about making it easier for your clients to do that.
Yeah.
So Nate, before we go any further, can you just really quickly walk us through, for people who aren't familiar with Sticky Albums, just walk them through the process of how simple this is
Right on.
for them to use this for their clients?
Yeah. Good question. I was thinking that as I was getting so far down.
Sorry. Should have
there. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Okay, so what's cool in the new builder, we're just launching this month. We've taken all the feedback from everybody to make this even simpler to build so that you can set up your own branding files and your branding information really quickly. And then creating a new album or a new app for each customer is as simple as drag and drop the pictures, give it a name, and then you get a link. So it's all, if you can make a Facebook album, you can make a Sticky album. It's super, super simple. Wow. And one of the cool features we're excited about adding is you can see a preview now right next to your editing screen of a little phone with what the app looks like as you're building.
Oh, that's
you're
so
cool. I want to change the background color to match my logo. You click the little color picker and then boom, it changes right there. It's these little subtle differences that weren't vital, but it makes it so much easier and more intuitive to build. And that's the feedback we were always getting, is especially with first-time users, how can we make this even faster? Because seconds really matter when we want you to be building these for every single one of your clients. That's where you get this numbers effect, or this snowball marketing starts to happen when everybody leaving your studio is walking out with these digital business cards.
Yeah. So it's super easy for the photographer.
Yeah.
And then, for us as photographers too, we're always thinking about on the client's end, making things very user friendly. So you send that link to your client. What do they have to do?
Good question. So what's really cool is notice I said it creates a link. So there's nobody has to deal with the App Store or any custom software at all.
Very cool.
The photographer, you build these in a browser. When you're done, you get a URL. And so we all have experience now sharing URLs, whether it's a link to a Animoto video or a link to a YouTube or a link to a website. We can all share URLs. That's a standard base level thing we can do now. And so that's all you need to do is email, Facebook, text message, any social media. You can deliver that URL to your client. And while not only is that awesome for you as a photographer, it's super easy, it's more important because it's dead easy for your customers. And that's where we set ourselves apart. Actually, in the marketplace now, we've had a lot of people replicate our services. But what makes us so special is it's just a link. There's no special install in the App Store. Because when somebody's sharing over the lunch table, if they have to say, here, do you want to put this on your phone? And they're like, yeah, how do I get that? That's awesome. Well, go here and install this. Go to the App Store. And they're like, okay. Then enter this code. No, too late. That's not going to work.
Yeah, you're
done. With a Sticky album, it's I've got your phone number. Obviously, if you're my friend, I have you in my contacts. Boom, boom. In the app, it's share this via text message. Here, paste the URL to the album, and they're done. It's just like that.
I think what's winning about this is...
Did you just say winning?
Wow. I did.
It's winning.
I think what's awesome about this is that you're meeting your client base where they are. Everyone's got these mobile devices, but also you're meeting them at the speed that they're running.
Oh, well said.
That's an important point, and you just kind of characterized it with the whole example of going to the App Store and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing to me. This last year, 2013, the mobile web grew 8 times faster than the actual web did. So what you're doing is really, you're helping photographers place these digital business cards as real estate on these digital devices. you've got a space, this little icon on the screen that's got your little logo, and there it is. You're just clicking on it and you're set to go.
Totally. I'm glad you brought up the icon again. I keep forgetting to mention that. That's the thing I try to say first. So that if you're brand new to Sticky Albums, the thing to really take away today is we let you put your customer's face as their own app icon. Like that tiny little feature. The fact that they can open up their phone and their pictures aren't buried in an email or buried in their camera roll. They open their phone and right on their home screen is their face and their name. They're not going to lose it. It actually is storing offline. So when they want to show it off to their friends, they tap it right away and it's open. And why that is important, it all comes back to word of mouth, is in-person word of mouth sharing, shoulder to shoulder. I'm having a conversation. When we've tried other sharing methods in the past, all of your, like, both as consumers, so all of your customers have tried this. Where they're like, oh, I want to share this funny video or this funny picture. And if it takes them too long, there's like this weird unspoken clock. Yeah. Where it's like we're all navigating this whole world of having our phones with us everywhere. And I heard somebody, this is a kind of a fun tangent. What's different about millennials and the younger generations is, like, people like you and I, we can remember what it was like to end a conversation with, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. That doesn't happen
he still does. What do you mean remember?
Like, we don't end conversations with, I wonder what year that happened. Or I wonder who did, like, that doesn't happen anymore. We all like, who started in what movie? Like three people have the answer, like instantly. And so all of that to bring up, like, we're still as a culture figuring out, like, what's appropriate. When is it okay to pick up the phone? If you're at dinner and somebody goes up to go to the bathroom and you're sitting there by yourself, everybody's like, oh, sweet, I can just sit here and catch up with my phone, right? That's totally socially acceptable. Yeah. But some things aren't. And if you're in a conversation, there's like this clock where you go, oh, yeah, I want to show you this video. Yeah. And we all have friends who, like, abuse this. They're like, why don't you just email me it, bro, and I'll look at it later. Like, we're hanging out now. Let's not look at YouTube videos together. Yeah. Where if it's, oh, let me show you this cool picture my photographer did of my family. I said, oh, cool. I want to look at those. That'll be fun to look at together. Right. As long as those pictures come up right away. Yeah. If they take up 30 seconds, a minute, they're like, oh, it gets awkward. Yeah. And not only is it awkward for the receiver, it is awkward for your client who's stuck in that. They're like, oh, shoot, I didn't realize this is slow. And then they stop. That means they'd stop using that way to share, and they won't do it anymore. Whereas Sticky Albums, it like rewards them. Every time they use it, they're like, yeah, I can bring it up right away and it's done. And I get to show up and everybody's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And you can see in your dashboard, you can see how many times each Sticky Album has been viewed by, like, total, and also by how many different devices. And it's pretty cool to see. People use the term viral really loosely, but if you have 100 different people look at your Sticky Album, that's a lot of traffic. Yeah. That's a lot of eyeballs looking at your work in the context with your logo, your contact information. So it's really powerful. And so word of mouth first, that's the thing to always be thinking about, is this helps you grow your referrals. So we also price Sticky Albums as all you can eat. So you become a member and you make as many albums as you want. I want every single one of your clients to have one. And then this is the part that's been fun, where as I talk to people about their business model and the other problems we happen to solve by accident. Like, I did not intend to solve these problems. But some of the big ones are, as photographers, we've had to figure out how to negotiate digital. Like, digital is a very tricky thing. Like, a lot of our customers now, they just ask for the CD. I just want the CD. And a lot of our wedding photographers are so excited. They're like, Nate, this is so great. At a minimum once a week, we get a phone call from a bride that says, hey, the first question they say is, can I get my pictures on digital? Can I get my digital negatives or whatever it is? And in the past, they've always had to just say no. And typically that's a client they don't get.
Right.
And instead, the conversation now goes something like this. They go, actually, we don't offer digitals, but when you place your print order, you get your own custom app with all of your favorite pictures. And the bride's like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I can put those pictures on my phone? Like, yeah. And I can share those to Facebook. Yep. Well, that's all I wanted anyway.
Exactly.
It's so true.
It becomes this like a cool way to have a deeper conversation. When I tell photographers all the time, when somebody's coming you just asking for digitals, you've got to like just be like, okay, yeah, maybe. Like, don't just close the door right away, and don't by all means stop getting on your high horse and taking offense. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You are an expert in your domain. I get that it's a hot, sensitive issue for us as photographers. I get that. Don't put that on your clients. They don't know. They're not experts in the world of photography. They're not meaning to insult anybody. So don't take it as that.
Exactly.
Right?
Plus, like you said, they're not typically wanting it so that they can go out and make all these prints on their own. They're wanting it so that they can share with their friends and their family and have their images easily accessible on something other than an album or
exactly.
in their home.
They want to solve that issue that a lot of photographers we hadn't figured out how to do this yet.
Yeah.
Like, Facebook was ahead of the curve, and we didn't know how to like keep control. And for a little while, Facebook was working for some referrals, but now it's becoming too populated and too tricky to manage that like a like or a share on Facebook just doesn't add up to a referral anymore.
Yeah, it's so true.
And it's hard to make sure you get credit. When your client shares your sticky album on their Facebook wall, they're not putting those pictures on Facebook. They're putting a link back to a sticky album that is wrapped in your brand and your logo, so you're getting credit. People know where to go when they want to get pictures like that.
For people who don't know, let's say that someone's on their iMac or whatever, and they're on Facebook and they get that link. What does it look like?
It just looks like a nice web gallery. And so they can look at it on a standard computer browser as well.
So all devices, you're
exactly.
ready to go.
Yeah, that's the new web is like, they say mobile first.
Right.
Instead of doing like we used to do, like, gotta have a website. Oh, they make a mobile version of that. Like, you don't have to make a new version for every little thing you're doing.
Right.
So you make this one time, and it works on Android, it works on Apple devices, and it works on all computers as well.
So one of our questions on the PBMC is ideal client.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there is an ideal client for sticky albums? I mean, you've mentioned seniors, you've mentioned family, and you've mentioned weddings.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's kind of like
I've been blown away by how many different niches of photography. For sure, the biggest surprise was boudoir is huge, like our biggest niche, because boudoir clients want to show off their pictures just as bad as every other other customer of photography wants to do.
Yeah.
But they don't want to put their pictures on Facebook.
Yeah.
And now they maintain complete privacy. They have the pictures on their phone. They can go out to lunch with their girlfriend and be like, check it out. Look what I did. And the spouses absolutely love having those personal pictures on their devices. I've had some great stories in the boudoir business where actually one of the big hugs I got in Vegas was from a boudoir photographer. She said they sat down with this woman and her spouse who was actually going off to Afghanistan. And service members can't bring any kind of prints with them like that. And when they realized that he was going to get to take those pictures with him on his phone, they were all crying. They're all like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to take this. Is like, I did this for him, and now he gets to take it with him. So
awesome.
People, like, whenever there's like a clients that want to share stuff to friends or family overseas or across larger distances, it works really well as in person.
I like what you mentioned too about, I remember when our son was born, we were very like anti-Facebook. Like we wanted to be able to share pictures with him or of him with our friends and family.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to be posting him all over Facebook.
Right. We even set up our own like private little network.
We did, but it was such a pain in the butt.
It
didn't last very long. So because it was such a pain and it didn't last very long, we ended up caving, to Facebook. But it's like I feel like that would even be something that would work, just on a personal level, like you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I talk about this last because I like photographers to think bigger. Mm-hmm. So the first use is, of course, making a portfolio. Like, duh. Like, this is perfect for making your own portfolio. Yeah. But why I say that last is it's something you'll get right away. You sign up, you make a portfolio with 20 of your best images, and now, of course, everywhere you go, you can share your portfolio really quickly. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that we have to start getting used to is because of Facebook, because of whatever, I don't know how to point fingers, but we're all becoming narcissists, right? Your clients are not going to share your portfolio of images, but what will they share? Their own pictures, right? And so, yes, you walk around with, if you do a couple different types of photography, a lot of our photographers will have a boudoir album, a wedding, and a senior album right on their phones wherever they go. They don't carry business cards anymore. They say, oh yeah, what's your phone number? Or what's your email? I'll send you my portfolio. And it's got my price list in there and everything you need and sample pictures. People love it. And that's great, but that's just you. You want to be thinking like 10x. And so now with every customer, what's so cool is the way this combines with like as a product and a marketing tool. So not only can you use this as an incentive to get people to spend more with you, when they get it, they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And they not only do they love having it for themselves, but it drives you so much business also. It's a weird, I don't even know how to explain it yet. 2 years later, I get stumbled like explaining the two aspects, how they work so well together.
Yeah.
So share a little bit, kind of on that little tangent on that, share a little bit about how people can use this, like success stories that you've heard about, how people have used this in their business to make money, how they've, because you talked about the pull through thing a little bit in the intro, and I've heard Sal talk about that and how he uses it. But just maybe a couple of good examples.
This was new to me too, but it really helps navigate this whole digital conversation. And bottom line, I say save any digital product you have until you've taken money. Like one of my favorite anecdotes on how things are changing is this. We've all heard times of like people taking their phones out, taking pictures of like the order session of if you do projection sales, they'll like take a picture so they have it. One guy was on a family shoot, and he's going like this to show the back of the LCD. He's like, got a really good snap with the 12-year-old. And the 12-year-old's like, oh, wait a second, come here. The 12-year-old wants to take a picture of the back of the photographer's
I've had that happen too, yeah.
It's like, wait, I want it now. I want it like instantly.
Right.
So with digital, we know now, as soon as it's on a screen, copyright, that doesn't enter people's minds at all.
Right.
They can see it, they can have it. And so why fight it anymore? It's not worth our energy to fight it. Embrace the positives and do our best to live with the negatives that come with it. And so by saving any digital until the end, it makes this great incentive where it's like it forces them to have the conversation with you about what they're going to want in 5 years. In 5 years, what they're going to be so glad that they sat down and bought the print album, because who knows what kind of phone there are going to be in 5 to 10 years. This is not replacing print at all. Mm-hmm. Digital will not replace it. I don't think that's the case one bit. It's changing too quickly. What will always be around are print albums, and we're always going to want stuff for our walls. And as our consumers are so short-sighted, I think we all are. It's hard for us to predict what we want in a year or let alone a month or 5 years out. And so as photographers, this lets us have that conversation where when you place your order, a lot of photographers will say, you can get your custom app for $500 a la carte. You don't want to sell this thing a la carte, obviously, but it embeds value. So people see it as something of value. And then they get it for free when they place an order in like your top print package. And it pulls people through where all over we get emails saying, their clients are like, okay, how much more money do I have to spend? What, do I get the app yet? Okay, I'll get one more 5x7, and I'll get this 8x10, and this. Am I at the app yet? Like, when do I get the app? Like, that's what people want, this like weird urgency in the short term. And you just work with it, right? Then it becomes this win-win for everybody. They get this great thing in the short term, and then I've heard it well said this way, where now you can say stuff like, when our customers come to us, the customers who love working with us are the ones that they love having the heirloom quality album 5 years that's going to stay in their family forever. They're going to have the great wall prints that they're going to save, and it's going to stay in their family forever. Those are the type of clients that resonate with us. And are you still going to have people that don't want any prints at all? Yes, that's fine.
Right.
There's a way to structure your business if that's the kind of business you want to be in. But more and more photographers, I said earlier, I've talked to hundreds now about what models are working versus what models aren't.
Right.
All of the photographers, I can say hands down, all of the photographers that I've talked to that are working full time, making a decent living as a photographer, are selling print products. It's just the way that's how you make a living.
Absolutely.
And Sticky Albums helps you do that by like meeting that urgent, short-sighted need of something they want to walk away with like today, and then also investing in products they're going to be so glad they have down the road.
Yeah, I think, it helps on the front end because there's a powerful marketing tool, and it helps on the back end in the post sales session and that kind of thing. So it's an all around product for a photographer. I remember reading a book, Growth Hacker by Ryan Holiday, and in the book, homie gets into like how you need to build in the marketing to the product. And that is what I think Sticky Albums really has done really effectively, is building in the marketing into the product. And making it such
That's a cool point.
an easy thing to share with just an effortless pushing of the send button to a friend and that kind of thing, so on and so forth. And so overall it helps in multiplicity of the way that you can kind of look at handling your business and that kind of thing. So that's
a really cool way to say it. I'm going to borrow that. So instead of, I've been saying a lot like it's a marketing tool that also works as a product. But I think it works. People might hear that better. If this is an awesome product you can offer your customers as an incentive, and it has the marketing built in.
Yeah. Boom.
It's cool. I like it. You guys rock. So yeah, I think bottom line, wrap up, like marketing tool first, gets all of your customers as a word of mouth machine for you. So I tell people to go back, and you don't have to wait to use this on new customers this year. Go back to all your favorite customers you've ever had, and send them a sticky album as a birthday card, as a Valentine's thank you, as a holiday card, instead of sending out stamps. Or we always have like the stamp worthy, envelope worthy, like holiday card people. Because stamps are expensive now.
Yeah.
Now you can really realistically and budget conscious photographers send out a holiday card to all of your customers as a thank you, and it's not going to cost you anything more.
It really is.
I love that.
You can add it's just JPEGs, so you can add any kind of JPEG you want to the album, with whether it's an additional referral bonus that says, hey, check out, show us this app when you book your session and you get a free app, or show us this and you get $50 off print credit, whatever it is. And the reward can reward both your existing referring client and the referrer client.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love that
anyways,
idea for
I can go on and on. There's other cool, I just say, check out our blog for other cool ways people are using this to partner with other vendors.
Yeah.
You can build apps for like the local florist, or if you're in the wedding industry, there's all kinds, just to use as a like a networking tool to really offer other vendors in your area something unique, something that other photographers aren't doing yet for their vendor relationships. You can use this to take it up a notch.
Okay, so one of the questions that I have as a wedding photographer is if I wanted to use this for a wedding, is there a limit to how many pictures I can upload? Because I don't want my bride and groom to get it and have to be sitting there for an hour while it's
looking
downloading.
at it. Yeah. Another awesome question. And this is where it comes back to the only person that's going to want to look at that many pictures is the bride.
Yeah.
And if I go back to when I first started, I talked about like at my day job, putting content on mobile devices, is that was everybody's impulse reaction. They're like, let's take everything we used to do and just put it on an iPhone or put it on an iPad, and without taking into consideration the user.
Right.
And the reality is we do not use, yes, we have a computer in our pocket, but we do not use this like we use a computer.
Right.
We don't want to sit there and look at hundreds of pictures. Like we go back to what we talked about earlier, the importance of speed. The short answer is you can put around 40 pictures on if you want.
Okay.
But our data shows that 10 to 20 images is ideal. And those get shared way more.
Right.
And another hack we've also learned is letting your customers help you build it. So we've all had clients that you send them this album of what you think are 40 to 50 just kick-ass images. But there's one or two where they're like, I don't like the way my arm looks. Or the shadow makes my arm look fat or whatever it is. And so it prevents them from sharing it to everybody they know. Yeah. But if they pick every single image, they pick their top 10 favorites, they're not filtering. They love these all so much. They don't, when they go to share, they just hit their whole address book and just send it to everybody, right? Yeah. And that's one of there's a couple of reasons, but short and sweet, mobile is different. This is not a tool for proofing, for giving your brides hundreds of images. That's just not what it's built for. Yeah. And I argue that mobile isn't ideal for proofing. Like that's not where people want to look at that many pictures. Yeah. They want to look at their very best.
That's an incredible point because I think it's really important to like custom curate every touch point that your client is going to have with your brand. Yeah. And to just kind of, as you said before, just kind of jam everything into, all devices everywhere is to not, kind of have that that delicate touch that really sends it into like the wow factor,
Yeah, totally. Like when you are sending off these pictures, it's wrapped in this great brand experience, and that the cool factor rubs off on you guys. It makes you as a photographer look cooler. And back to your question, if you have a bride that's like, oh, I want can you put all of my pictures in this? Go ahead, make her one with like 50 to 60 images or whatever it is. Right. And just say, here, this one's for you. It's going to take a long time to download, but you can have it there just for you. But here's another one that you can use with your favorites to share to everybody, and that'll keep them happy.
Awesome, thank you.
And then the last thing on that note is when you use your incentive. So like an incentive pull through would include so this is a lot of people get hung up on this where they use it as an incentive, but then they're only giving them to the people who hit the incentive. Like no. Like give the people who hit the top package 30 images. They get the full sticky album treatment, or they get to pick the ones that go in. And if they don't hit whatever your threshold you define, that doesn't mean they don't get anything. You can still surprise them in a week and say, hey, thanks so much for doing business with us. Here's your free sticky album with 6 pictures and some advertising in there too. And you still get all of the win-win marketing push from it as well.
Because it's unlimited albums, correct? No matter what package you have.
Exactly. Totally.
Cool.
Yep.
You guys, we really want to urge you to check out Nate's blog over there, StickyAlbums.com. It's got some wonderful just business resources over there as well that you need to check out. So, Nate, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to help any way I can. You guys are doing awesome stuff for the industry. Thank you so much for the education you're providing in this PBMC. I gotta look at that. the acronym.
No, you got to say it like this. PBMC.
PBMC.
There you go.
It is awesome. Thank you. I'm using it and all the photographers I'm talking to now. It just helps level set and talking about business in a really approachable way. It's fantastic. So thanks for the opportunity to come and share. And thank you guys again for sharing to my audience. It's been really fun getting to know you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well,
Thanks,
take
man.
care.
All right, cheers.
Thanks.
Hey there, friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope that you're able to implement some of the tips and strategies discussed in this session. If you'd like to learn more about TogTools, please visit TogTools.com.